Hello and happy Pride to all who celebrate. It is June here. Let's go ahead and hop in. I'm Andrew Hochradel, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a retro style poster in Adobe Illustrator. If you want to join me, go ahead and grab the source file down in the description, and let's get started with a quick little funkification of our artboard. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab the rectangle tool, and we are just going to make a big backdrop. We're just going to click and drag to make this backdrop fully right there. Looks good. So we want this backdrop maybe to be a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do is grab the eyedropper tool, hitting I, and then click right here to make this a nice dark kind of maroon. And maybe I want it to be this red. Ooh, that looks fun. So let's get it real funky fresh. And we're going to go ahead and warp this. So today our challenge is to create our own retro poster using color, typography, and warp effects. So we'll start with the warp effects. What we're going to do is I am actually going to just make some very thin lines. And we're going to start with one thin line. And I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to make this maybe yellow. And then from here, I'm going to click and drag holding Alt or Option and Shift. Now I'm going to drag just a little bit right there, and this looks good. Now I can duplicate that by hitting Control or Command D, and that is just going to continue to duplicate that. Now the problem is it might not be sized correctly. I actually got really close just guessing. So what we can do is we can actually delete all these middle ones right here. Just click and drag to delete. And then I'm going to center these two. So we're going to group them together, and then up here, just center them to the artboard. I was really close. And from there, I'm going to go to Object. I'm going to go to Blend and Make. And from here, I can make a blend of as many different steps as I want to. So we're going to edit that blend options, take this down, specified steps, and maybe we want to do maybe 10. Let's see what that looks like. Looks pretty good. So we're going to hit OK, and that looks good to me. And now we want to expand these. We're going to go to Object and Expand. Now, these are all individual shapes looking good. And I'm going to select this, and this is where the funky part comes in, is we're going to come over here, and right underneath the width tool are some really, really fun tools for you to play around with. We have the warp tool, the twirl tool, pucker, bloat, scallop, crystallize, and wrinkle. I'm going to go through what each of these do. So the warp tool, if you use it, you can hit enter with that tool selected, and it will bring up these options. So we can change the width, we can change the height, we can change the angle at which it's kind of warping, and the intensity. Now this is really important. The intensity should probably never be above 20. I think it's set at 50. And so you can see, we'll set it at 50 for now so you can see. But if it's set at 50, watch what happens. It gets pretty intense. And so what I like to do is take it down to about 20%. And that way, as we click and drag, we can really control kind of these swirls of where they're going. So I'm just kind of circularly clicking and dragging around here. Maybe I want some of them going the other way. And so you can play around and just click and drag, and warp is going to give you this very kind of cool, funky vibe with your lines. Now it is changing the width of these because they are not strokes. If these are strokes, it would keep the lines consistent. So let's actually see that real quick, just because I want to show you. I'm going to grab a line here and just click and drag. And I am going to put a nice little weight on that. Looks good to me. We'll make it that yellow, and then I'll make a bunch of copies of it real quick. Just using Command D. I'm just holding Command D to do that. And now if I select these and group them and then use this tool right here, the warp tool, it's actually going to keep our line width the same. So as I kind of mess these around, this is a great way to create a cohesive look with your line weight, but still keep it extra, extra funky fresh. Some of that out there. Some swirls here. So now you can see this is all consistent and this is all rough. And yes, this is a fantastic way to make a wood grain texture. So this looks good to me. I'm actually going to grab this one and bring it back in. And we're not done yet. We're going to do one more thing to this, and that is come over here and go to the twirl tool. So the twirl tool is going to be integral in what we're creating today. We're going to hit enter and then change that intensity. It's going to be at 20. The twirl rate, I'm going to put up to maybe 30 degrees. And hit OK. And now, as I click and drag, ooh, super funky, flowy vibes going on here. And I'm just going to keep kind of swirling these. And the more you hold it, the more it will swirl. So short little clicks is usually preferred here so that it doesn't get too swirly. All right, this is looking pretty good. All right, so this is looking cool. I am not mad about it at all. I am going to change the color so that the background is this dark blue, and then these will be a little bit lighter blue, and that way we just have the kind of this marbled texture. All right, so now we are going to create some text to go on top of here, something funky, something fresh, and what we're going to do is go to Adobe Fonts, and we're not going to go to the Adobe Fonts site. We are just going to go to Adobe Fonts here in Illustrator. So I'm going to type this in, and our keyword for today, why not, is going to be pride. Now, I want to find the right font. Now, I definitely want it in this yellow color because that's going to look really good, kind of separated from this blue on the poster. And I'm going to go Control T, and then over here, we are going to find the perfect font. So we're going to click here, and this is going to give us a menu. In this menu, I can go to Find More, and that is going to initialize Adobe Fonts. I haven't initialized, so we'll give it a second to initialize, but I can sort through my current fonts, and we can kind of scroll here and find something that's funky. I want something that has high contrast, and I think that for now, that's it. Maybe I want something that's like mid-weight. I probably want something that's heavy. So you can change the weight here, the width, the line weight, all those things. And so I'm going to scroll down, and this actually kind of looked good. I think this might be cool. So let's do Beastly. All right, so let's do Beastly. I think that looks good. And I can scroll it up, just scale it up to the size that I want right here. And now I want it to kind of take over the top of this text. And what's cool is I can select this and go to Effect. I can go to Warp. And then from here, I can do all of these great options. So I'm going to click on Arc, and you can see that it just does this perfect arc, right? And Howard Pinsky in the chat is saying, we need an AI tool for finding the perfect font. Guess what? There is one in Adobe Express. Adobe Express, actually, I would love to see that feature come over to other places. Adobe Express suggests, based on what you're creating, like what fonts to use. I'd love to see that in other places. All right, so we can go to Style, and then let's do this, Arc Upper. I think that looks good, maybe a little bit less. Okay, looks good. You also can change the horizontal, so we can do this very kind of funky. I'm not mad about that. Let's keep it simple though. So we're gonna hit OK, and now we've got this big kind of warp happening up to the top of our piece, right? Really good. And hey, Mark Bowden, what's up, Mark? Nice to see you in our live chat. If you are watching this on YouTube, great. Hi, it's awesome to see you on the replay. Hello from the past. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below about your favorite psychedelic funky poster. Also, we're keying out, I'm so sorry. Oh, there we go, we got it. We're keying out our green and yellow in our pride hat, which stands for Earth and Sun. So shout out to the Earth and Sun. All right, so continuing here, we are going to create a little bit more on this, and we're just going to do a nice line here to divide. And what I like to do is kind of lay out my posters using basic shapes, right? So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do maybe a like pride is power kind of thing. So I'm going to do a circle, and this is where is going to be. And I love to lay out using simple shapes because it just makes it so much easier for me to see the space that I'm working with, right? So that's looking good. And then power, I wonder if we do like here, and it's kind of this big rise. Like I wonder if we do a kind of rise. I think it could be interesting. We'll see what happens. And then probably some little element down here that it maybe is just like a punchline. Right there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the word power right here to kind of fill this space. Now, I think that I want it to kind of do this funky little rise. So what I'm going to do is grab my font right there, text tool. And here I am going to type in power. And I believe that Beastly is from Oh No Typeco, if you want to find that on Adobe Fonts. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do a couple things here. I'm going to go to Effect. Actually, we're going to change the color first. I'm going to go to Effect, and I'm going to go to Warp, and then I'm going to choose one of these, right? And I'm going to try to find one that looks interesting. I may want to do this manually. We'll see what happens. So Arch, probably not what we want. Maybe not what we want. I do like flag a lot. I think flag gives it like a really cool bend, especially if we take this up, we can do some really cool stuff, especially with these psychedelic vibes that we're doing here. So I'm gonna hit okay. And then what I'm gonna do, this is gonna be heresy. Y'all are gonna be mad at me. I'm fine kind of squishing fonts. I am not mad about it, especially when we're warping things. I'm just gonna squish it in to fit that style because I want it to be really locked in. So we're gonna do this right here. All right, we got a nice little warp. And what's cool is if I take this warp and I go to Object Expand Appearance, it's going to expand it into shapes, right? Just regular shapes looking good, looking awesome. So what I can do, and this is probably my favorite thing of kind of creating these shapes, is start at the top and then grab just pieces of this letter. And I'm using the pen tool to just click and drag out. And I'm finding kind of the topmost points and the lowest points in this font, boom, to make sure that I'm hitting those edges. So it looks like I missed the edge just a little bit here. So I'm gonna pull this one in just a little bit right there. And I think that looks pretty good. So now with this is my arch. What's cool is that I can match this exactly. And what's even cooler is if I didn't want to use the pen tool, I could come up here, look at my warp, and this is at 48%. We're going to put it at 50 just to be fun. I think what I can do is just draw a line here. Okay. So we're going to draw a line. This is an experiment. I didn't do this. I just thought about it right now. We are going to draw a line. Hold, please. And then from here, we're going to select it, go up and apply that same effect. So we're going to go to warp. We are going to go to flag and we are going to set it at 50%. I'm going to hit okay and let's see what happens. Interesting. Why isn't it? I'm interested in why it's not changing the path. Let me think. I don't know. I actually think if I turn it, it's going to do it. No, I don't know what's happening here, y'all. I wish I did, but I don't. Okay, hold on. Let's try one more thing. This is what happens when Andrew does challenges, is I like have a plan and then I get distracted. Interesting. All right. Not sure what's happening there. It's not what I wanted it to be. So we're going to move on. So we have this, and thankfully we traced out our rise right here, and I can simply match this to my type, and then I'm going to move it up by like 20 pixels. So just use shift and then go up right there. And I probably want to get rid of a couple of these pieces. Ooh, and let's do this. Let's do like a fun little gradient effect. So I'm going to do kind of a thick version here. Looks good. We're going to round out that edge. And then from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring this up and then take this down to 2. So what happens here is when I create a blend between these two, so we have a thicker one and a thinner one, when I create a blend, object blend make, it is going to give me kind of a middle ground between that, right? So it'll create this kind of cool effect between the two. And I do want to maybe have a nice kind of hard edge on that. So from here, all I need to do is bring this down here. And now I have another version, right? If I wanted to, I could flip these. So I could just go up here. And then I'm going to grab that other one that was here and just drag that down. Oops. Let's grab the back one, drag that down. There we go. And then drag this one up a little bit. And with those blends, you can go in and you can change the individual pieces. And it's very easy. Right? You can change the individual pieces to create a very interesting blend. So we've got pride. We need to do is right here. And is, I'm actually going to try to do a really interesting effect. So I've played around with this a little bit, and maybe I'll use it for these side pieces, is what I like to do is I will create a couple boxes. So we're going to create a couple kind of long boxes here. Let's see what happens. So we're going to do red. Let's do a little pride. Orange, yellow, blue. Sorry, green is missing again. So we've got there, right there. We've got there, right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over to the side, and we're going to go to Effect. We're going to go to Warp, and I'm going to do Arc Upper. And what this will do, actually, maybe not Arc Upper. What do I want to do? There we go. That's what I wanted. I'm going to do Shell Upper. And then kind of just like hit it like this pretty intensely. And that's looking pretty good for what I want. I want this kind of like fanned out look. And what we could do actually, that would be interesting, is create this with triangles. So we're going to create a triangle here. I'm going to kind of scale this in. I just use the polygon tool there and hit the up and down arrows. And now I'm going to use rotate. Just click right here on this anchor. And then I'm going to grab and rotate right there, hitting Alt or Option, and it will make a rotation for me. So 1, 2, hit Command D again, 3, 4, 5, right? It's rotated around there. We're going to go ahead and just get close right there to making that perfect. I'm going to toss these colors in right here. And this is going to create a really, really cool effect. So this is going to be kind of like a wave vintage effect. So we're going to go to Effect, Warp, and then here we are going to do Arc Upper. Okay, maybe I want to do Shell. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Let's try Shell Upper. And the cool thing is you can really play around with these and just find what works best for you. So I think that this has a nice little kind of effect that I am into. So I'm just going to mask this into this shape. So we're going to align those together. Send it backward. I'm just hitting Command and that backwards bracket. And now make a little clipping mask. Okay, cool. So we've got a nice little kind of shell piece flying through there. I'm going to move that up just a little bit. Cool. Not mad about it. And maybe we'll do another one over here just to line it up. All right. I don't love it, but I'm not mad about it. So then is going to go in the middle. This is going to be super easy because I'm just going to type is. Got it. And what's cool about this is I can actually do a couple things here. And one of the options that I can do is actually morph this is to fit into this circle. Now, if I just slam it into the circle right now, it's going to be a little bit intense. It's going to look super weird. So what I want to do is I'm going to make a copy of the circle, holding Alt or Option and scaling down, or I can Control C and then Control Shift V to paste in place. I'm going to use the scale tool, hitting S to just scale that down a little bit. And now what we can do is I'm going to make sure that this object is on top and that my is in the background. We're going to make this is that nice orange color. And we're going to select both of these. So we have the circle and the type, and we're going to go to Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. I know the hotkey for that, but it was rough to find in the menu. So Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object, and whatever object you have on top, it is going to slam that type into that object. So we can create this really cool kind of bubbly shape. And thank you, Mirror This. Great idea. I just use Reflect right there to kind of give it that nice inward motion. So that's looking pretty good. All right, so you see that we can do a slam into a shape. And what's really cool is you can slam this into any shape. So if we wanted to create a blob, this is a free blob tutorial for you. All those kind of trendy blobs that you see, all you need to do is click out a bunch of random points in a kind of circular fashion here in Illustrator using the pen tool. And then we're going to grab this shape. We're going to go to Effect. We're going to go to Stylize. We're going to go to Round Corners. We're going to set this to 999, just the furthest that it can go. And we're going to hit OK, and boom, blobbed. And what's cool is we can actually play with this blob if we want it more blobby. Maybe we don't like this point here. We want this coming in here. And you can play around with these points to really create the perfect blob that is just blobbed perfectly for you. All right, so it looks pretty blobby. What I can do is I can go to Object, Expand Appearance. We have this very weird blob, looks good to me. And let's say I want to put my name in there, right? Because I'm celebrating Pride. And we will go ahead and select these two. I said blob a lot. We can select these two. We can go to Object. We can go to Envelope Distort and Make with Top Object. Boom. So it will slam it into that type. However you like, right? Really, really helpful tool here to be able to create those weird and wacky shapes, right? Here's another little trick. We're giving you all the hot stuff for free. Here we go. So here's another trick is if we wanted to, we could actually come in here and grab some of the edges of this blob. I'm just going to go to outline mode. And I'm going to click to some of these edges, right? And I'm going to do a little like blob lock-in. So we're going to do a few of these shapes. Excuse me, my goodness. Started choking there. We're going to do a couple of these shapes and just make sure that these lines are hitting each other perfectly. So here, maybe one over there. We'll come up here. Looks good. And let's do one more. And let's say your name is Chris. So we're going to do a fun little blob exercise for Chris. So what's cool is with these all kind of locked in, what we're going to do is we are going to select all of them. And then actually, let's go ahead and kill the round corners on this real quick. All right, we're going to select all of them. And then when we go to round the corners, what's cool is we can go effect. We can just click on that round corners that we already had. It's going to blob all of these. All right, so they're all touching, which is still too close for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of them, go to Object, Transform, Transform Each, and then I can scale them down to 90% each. And it's going to scale each of those individually. And I hit OK. And now when I Object Expand Appearance, I have all these blobs that are kind of locked in, right? So if I wanted to do something really fun with our friend Chris, what I could do is I'm just going to break apart each of these letters. We'll make each of them a different colors. Oh, we don't have enough. Okay, it's just going to be Chris with... He's an eclectic Chris. Gosh, the compromises that I make to make designs work. All right, so Chris, our friend Chris, looks good. All I need to do is select these, make sure that these are in the front. So I can select these, go to Arrange, Bring to Front. And then I can select each of these. And again, the hotkey is Control-Alt-C. And you'll see that I can do this really cool locked in effect where all these letters kind of come in together. Control-G. And so you see that they can lock in. You can create really cool effects that are super, super trippy here in Adobe Illustrator. All right, so we're back here. It's looking pretty good. I'm not a fan of these, so I'm just going to take them out. And maybe we'll leave them. Why not? There's no rules. So this is looking pretty good. What I might want to do is play around with some other colors. So what's really cool is I can take this poster and I'm actually going to crop it in a little bit. Right there. Looks good. I don't like these. Actually, let's do this. So I'm going to select both of these and I'm going to go to warp and then I'm going to try to do the rise on these. Take it down quite a bit. This is not going to work. Meh. All right, these are getting deleted just for demonstration purposes. So we're going to delete these, and then I'm going to save this as an SVG. So we're going to Control-Shift and then save it as an SVG. So I'm going to use my artboards, sounds good, range 1, and save. Then we're going to use this awesome new tool over on firefly.adobe.com. So you can go to firefly.adobe.com. We can scroll down here and go to Generative Recolor. Pretty cool. We can hit Generate right there and then upload SVG. This is going to allow us to play around with some new colors. So we can go and select our file poster, hit Open, and it's going to open this poster for me. And I want this to be iridescent. That's not spelled right. Iridescent metal. So we're going to hit enter and it will find a color palette that works well for this based on my prompt, which is iridescent metal, right? Ooh, all right. Looking pretty glowy, pretty cool. Let's say that we wanted to do Summer by the Sea. All right. Not looking bad. And so it's basically giving me new colors and options to see what my poster looks like. So maybe I want to do primary colors, high contrast. Actually, let's just do primary colors. So it'll give me some probably red, yellow, blue. Let's see what happens. All right, it's hitting hot. I can come over here and I can actually change this to complementary. We can change this to maybe triad. All right, that's looking good. Maybe deep, rich coffee. Let's see if that does anything. I know, these little mushroom illustrations are so cute. So deep, rich coffee. All right, it's still got some purples in there. But I can come down here to the color, and maybe I want to find something that's a little more like down to earth. All right, sure. Let's actually change this back to default. There we go. There's some of the colors that we want. Ooh, I love this one. And so all I need to do is I can click and shuffle, and it will shuffle these colors around for me so I can find something that I like. Love that. Love that. And all I need to do is hit download. And now if I come into my Finder, I just right click right here. And then I'm going to go right here into Illustrator. Boom. Check that out. Now it's back. It's a vector. I have all of my colors and we are good to go, right? It's all still the same. So thanks so much for joining me today. I'll be back with another Illustrator challenge tomorrow. Bye. Stick around for video. It's going to be a great time. Bye, everybody.